First of all, offer my respectful obeisance countless times. Beloved Guru Pad Papa Nitilam Vishnu Pachi Shimad Shila Bhakta Nanga Swami Star Rupanu Gurvarg, all his assembled devotees, headed by Gopanandini Didi. First and foremost, Gurudev always said, if you want to make advancement in bhakti, you have to respect the disciples of Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. Yeah. Very important. If you're not paying homage to the people that actually helped Prabhupada spread the movement, all those books distributed at the airports and all over the world. He didn't do it by himself. His disciples tirelessly served and spread the mission. So we can never forget those people. Yeah. So very pranams to Rasikananda Maharaj creating opportunity for us to glorify and remember Srila Gurudev. Bishwar spoke very nicely. Imagine a banker talking about the gold standard. Who would have thunk?
Oh my God.
I thought you were going to keep it all fiat and financial instruments and accepted for value.
That's fun.
So it's a special day when a banker starts talking about the gold standard. You're going in the right direction. But so like Prabhu was saying, Gurudev, we have this legacy. All of our Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada, who just brought this whole message over to the West, and people get to hear Bhagavad Gita. It's such a nice, everyone, obviously, our guests are gone, but I don't know if they've read Bhagavad Gita, but all of us have, and our first connection with truth was Bhagavad Gita. And, we know Prabhupada called his Bhagavad Gita as it is, because everyone wants to, just like with genuine money, it's connected to gold, ideally. In the same way, the truth and power of Bhagavad Gita is connected to repeating it as it is and not changing everything. And as we know, like now you're living in a place where we got inflation going through the roof because everything's fiat. It's all fake. It's fake money. It's not real. It's not connected to any tangible real thing. So, and then you keep printing it, and then so the value of fiat money becomes almost worthless. I think there's some stat that, like, since was it 1913 or something, that the US dollar had lost like 93% of its value. It's like, that's what happens when things are not connected to truth. So Prabhupada, he had his Bhagavad Gita as it is, and because of that, the potency of the message went everywhere. As we know, many translations, many commentaries. So Prabhupada gave that Bhagavad Gita, and like Vishwamar saying, I need my Prabhupada. So, the jiva, what was Gurudev used to say, used to quote very often, Brahmanda Brahmitikan Bhagavana Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Bhai Bhakti Lata Beach. That the jiva is moving all throughout the universes, different bodies, different incarnations, and by the grace of Guru and Krishna, one receives this Bhakti Lata Bij, this tendency to serve God. So the jiva, whatever lifetime he's in, he appears, again carrying on from where he left off. So if he's made like 1% advancement or 2% advancement, next life again finds himself coming to the Vaishnavas, and and then they come in touch with the Gita, and it all resonates. But ultimately, what's the message of the Gita? Krishna says, Tad vidi paripratina paripashna sevaya. Upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tatvadashana. You come, and you approach the self-realized master, Sri Guru. You go there, and you take shelter, you serve. Seva, pranati, and relevant inquiry. How can I serve you? So those three aspects are there. But without that transcendental personality, you know, he's Tattva-gyan. He's realized. Gurudev used to say, you know, what does it mean? Gyaninas Tattva Darshanaha. What does it mean to see the truth? Because it said that Sri Guru, he can see the truth. It doesn't mean Gurudev said, it doesn't mean he's just learned. He said, what's the tattva that he's seeing? He said, that tattva is Brajendranan and Shama Sundar. He's seen Sri Krishna, not just read in a book and understood. You know, he's realized Brajendranan and Shama. He's Tattvadarshi. So he can, and then because of that, because he's realized Sri Krishna, he can impart that knowledge because he's seen the truth. Yeah. So that without Sadguru, you know, it's impossible to get that the dynamic kick, you know, because you can. Many of us before we met Gurudev, we're in ISKCON, you know, we were living in temples, we were reading the books. But Prabhupada wasn't present physically. You could say, well, it's the book Bhagavat is non-different. And yeah, okay, you can say that, but once you meet the Mahabhagavat in person, then all of that comes alive. And what to speak of receiving Diksha, you know, then the theory that's written in the books becomes alive because the Sri Guru has accepted the disciple, and then so we hear the different types of diksha. Was it Vidva Vruli Diksha and what's the preliminary one? Just Pantratric Diksha. So the first one, you have your official ceremony. You shave your head, you sit in the fire yagya, you swaha, and you make vows, and you take shelter, and you receive thread. So this is the ceremony of Diksha, you know. But Gurudev said this is only the external, almost like a marriage. As you know, Gurudev gives an example of enrolling in university. You know, the first day at university. Okay, you get your books, you get your teachers, you meet your fellow people, and everyone's going to learn together. But that's day one. You don't have your diploma. You don't have your diploma yet. So Diksha. When we receive Diksha, that's basically Gurudev said we're entering the school of Diksha, the school of transcendental knowledge, just the beginning. It's day one. But Gurudev said what's real initiation, what's real Diksha is this Vidva Vruli Diksha. He said that point is when the disciple accepts the Guru in his heart. And then at the same time, the Guru accepts the disciple in his heart. He said that's real Diksha. When those two, and that's not a physical thing. So it's like we have with Prabhuji in Vrindavan, so Premananda Prabhu, he's so humble, he's not accepting disciples. And he's having other people do that function of giving mantra. And the people that are in that position to perform that function, they know that they're without Prabhuji, they absolutely have no existence. So they're just doing it on behalf, and they're thinking, I don't have the realization, I haven't fully manifest, but the service of Prabhuji to Gurudev is that he wants Gurudev's legacy to continue, so that the disciples who are direct Diksha disciples of Gurudev, then the disciples will be, their Param Gurudev will be Srila Gurudev. You know, so and Prabhuji is so humble, he's just staying at the side and trying to fan and bring, in his own magic way, keeping Gurudev's front and center. You know, because we see many people, they want to put themselves as in the center of that position. So, and when Gurudev came also, he was very clear. He said, I've only come to the West to take the foot dust of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. So he would go to all these temples, and he would just want to take the foot dust of Swami Prabhupada. And he would take Prabhupada's books like Vishnu said in his famous Upadeshamrita classes that Gurudev gave in 97 in Badger. And he would show, because Gurudev would often say, he would say, the Bhagavatam is there for everyone, like all the treasure chest. There's a treasure chest of spiritual wisdom. He said, but the key is with the sadhu. Gurudev would do that. He'd put his hand in his pocket. He said, but the key is with the sadhu. So, and he like that, put it in his pocket. Like you haven't got the key. And then he proved that by giving those classes on Upadeshamrita. And he'd show us like the famous verse is the verse 8. Tadnama charitati sukirtananu, Tadnama rupa charitati sukirtananu. That one should always, the essence of advice, like Tishtambraje tadanuragi jaganagami kalamna kilam itu upadesha saram. The essence of all advice of Rupa Goswami is to reside in Vrindavan, tadanuragi jananagami, in the guidance and association of the Ragatmic Jan. The divine, but you hear like, obviously maybe some people know to different degrees, I don't know, some of that terminology, like anurag and anugamis, But Gurudev explained all these things, and we didn't have any idea, but they showed that he had the key, because everyone had read these books. It was one of the first books that Prabhupada had published. He printed, I think the first print run was 10,000 copies of Upadeshamrita. So, and top to bottom, Vacha Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam, all the way through, Vaidhi Bhakti, Raganuga Bhakti, everything's covered, and the essence is given, especially Raganuga Bhakti starts at that 8th sloka, that one should be in association of Vaishnavas, continuously hearing the glories of Krishna's names, pastimes, and and then Gurudev, and in the purport, Prabhupada explains this is what is Raganuga Bhakti. There's different levels of performing, And then Gurudev looked up. He said, "I don't think the ISKCON leaders have read this. I don't think." He said, "I'm not saying anything different from Swami Prabhupada. We're saying the same thing." But he made that. You could see he's made the point. The key is with the sadhu. Without the realized Tattva Darshi Sadguru, we're just blind. So we pray Om Jnana Tamarandasya, you open my eyes. So that transcendental function, and so this whole idea, and at that time everyone would say, especially because people had been in ISKCON, and they're following Prabhupada, they're following the books. But sadhu sangha, sarva sastriko, you have to associate with the sadhu. And the devotees that were associating with Gurudev would say, "Oh, where's your sadhu sangha? Where's your physical?" Because people were following the books. They didn't think, because Prabhupada said, "Everything is in my books." That was one of Prabhupada's classics, because he put everything in his books. But devotees were kind of twisting it, thinking that you don't need a realized Mahabhagavat to help you in your life. You can just get it from the books. Like this kind of Ritvik system. So like this is the point, that basically over time the kind of essence and the authenticity had kind of been lost. Like Krishna with Bhagavad Gita, he's saying, well, this science is lost, so therefore I'm here today and I'm repeating this knowledge to you, Arjun, because you're my friend. And but so this knowledge is historically, it gets lost over time. And then Krishna comes himself, or he sends his pure devotee, to reestablish the spiritual truth. So after Swami Prabhupada had left, then so many versions, zonal acharyas, people dividing the earth up into zones, and this is my zone, and these are my disciples, and one of the glories of Gurudev that was that his Narayan, this human form, there was this concept that many types of guru, authentic gurus, they would send their disciples to Gurudev for training, in Keshav Gaudiya Mat in Mathura. So, you know, and even with us at the time in the 96, then there were Western disciples, what to speak of all the Indian gurus that would send their disciples to Gurudev because he was so, you know, his standards were so paka, and all the even Guru Prabhupada sent for Archan Dipik, for Archan, he sent his disciples to Gurudev to learn the Archan from Archan Dipik. So all of their study they got from Gurudev. You know, Gurudev helped them so much in the early days because they recognized, many of the ISKCON gurus, they recognized Gurudev. So without that touch, you know, so over time it becomes lost, and then people are thinking, well, they still take that, oh, everything is in my books, but they don't realize the book is saying Tadvidi Pranibhrati. No, you know, you take shelter of the realized master. So very much Gurudev's first functioning in the West when he came in 96. For those that were fortunate enough to hear what Gurudev was saying, was basically like, you know, I'm connecting you all back to the original. This, look, here it is, Raganuga Bhakti. You know, the essence is, you know, not book distribution. You know, because for all of us, you know, this Anarpita Charat verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Basically, Gurudev explained why, you know, we didn't know. Before Gurudev came, we didn't know. We knew some basics. And we thought, oh, Mahaprabhu and Nityananda has come and they're delivering the world with Harinam Sankirtan, you know, Hare Krishna, you know. Sankirtan Yajna was the thing. And the devotees were doing Sankirtan Yajna. And printing books and everything was kind of going on. But, you know, as we know, the acharyas, they build on the work of the previous acharya. And Prabhupada said everything's in his book. And then Gurudev's showing you, and people are going, no, this is bogus. This is Raganuga Bhakti, we're not qualified for Rag. What are your qualifications? And Gurudev used to give these examples, didn't he, of qualification for, how would he call it? Lolium. You know, was it Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavatamati Kriyatamitopi Nalabhite Tatalola Mula Mekilam Jamakoti Sukute Nalabhite. This verse was the given verse that Prabhupada used to define ISKCON. If you don't know this verse, you have to, Maharaj will twist your ear and say, yes, you have to learn this verse. But Krishna Bhakti Rasa, you know, that the go to that place, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavatamati, where there is a intelligence that's infused with Krishna Bhakti, not just ordinary Krishna Bhakti Rasa. So that means a pure devotee. Go to wherever there is a pure devotee, go there immediately and purchase what is in what he has, this Krishna Bhakti Rasa. What is the price? Ekamulyam. There's only one price to attain what is in the heart of the Sudha Bhakti, and that's lowly greed, the desire to attain it. So, and Gurudev he used to give a couple of examples, 2 examples he would give of the adhikar for greed, you know, because there's the old guard are saying, oh, Raganuga Bhakti, we're cool, no, we can't hear it, you know. Many devotees would have friends still in ISKCON, and you'd say, yeah, Gurudev's talking about, you know, Raganuga Bhakti, and they'd freeze up. No, cool. We can't talk about it, you know. We're not qualified, you know, because the leaders, they didn't know what it was. So they said, oh, you can't, oh no, not for you, no. But the reality was, they didn't know the first thing about it, you know, that themselves they didn't know. But Gurudev gave 2 very beautiful examples of this lolium. What is greed? You know, because we say greed, oh, I'm greedy for bhakti. Greed sounds like a bad word, you know. But Gurudev, he qualified it with 2 really beautiful examples. One was a dog who's outside a sweet shop, and he's looking through the sweet shop and he's seeing all the sweets, you know, and he's salivating. You know, Gurudev, he didn't know this word salivating, right? Gurudev's English. It's like, he's salivating, Gurudev, he's salivating, you know. So, you know, we've seen all the dogs, they're like that. and they're seeing the sweets. And Gurudev said the dog has no money in his pocket. Like, he can't afford the sweets. He has no qualification for the sweets, but he still wants the sweets. He said this is greed. When you don't have the qualification, but you still want it. So who has the qualification for bhakti? You know, and it's like Vishnubar Prabhu was saying, you know, didn't have Diksha, so he couldn't be in the kitchen. You know, there's some Vaidhi, there's some rules. You haven't got Diksha, you know, but like, you know, we've seen with Prabhuji, something given all sorts of people the Adhikar, they have Diksha, they're in the kitchen, they're doing this and that. You know, sometimes the greed is there, and you know, that people don't, I'm not qualified, but I still want it. So that's the kind of greed that they're talking about. The second example is what he used to give was Princess Diana. And you guys may be too young now. I don't know if you remember Princess Diana. No? They were shaking their heads. I don't know Princess Diana. So Princess Diana, she was like the princess of England, you know, of
The Commonwealth.
she was the husband to be, the wife to be, of Prince Charles, who's now King Charles in England. So back in the day, in the 90s and that, you know, she was the princess. She was beautiful, and people loved her, and she did lots of, you know, it was the dream, you know, this fairy book tale of the princess. And Gurudev gave the example. He said, like Princess Diana, he said, there's one man, he's very ugly, he's got no money, but he sees Princess Diana, he goes, I want to marry Princess Diana, she's so beautiful. But he's got no cash, you know, he's not a banker, you know, he hasn't got his private jet, you know, and he's ugly also on top of it, and he's old. So he's got no qualification, but still he wants. So those are the two examples Gurudev used to give.
He gave the Princess Diana an example, huh?
Yeah,
Over and over again.
Oh, many times.
That's a good one.
Huh?
That's a good one.
Haven't you seen? He's translating.
But that was the earlier years, huh?
Oh, you see.
He's already seen them. He's in 1999, I think. 1999.
Yeah. Plenty of examples like that. So, but this whole thing is like, and it just kind of gives you hope that I'm a conditioned soul. You know, not like I'm the ugly guy that wants to marry Princess Diana, but we're Bada Jeeves. You know, we're conditioned souls that are full of anartas, and we're lusty, and we're distracted, and we're not qualified, and we're looking in the complete wrong direction. I'm still attached to Maya's Maya's energy, the material energy. We're like, oh, it's very nice, and we just, and then you hear some Hari Kirtan, you're like, oh, I want to go there, but I also want to go here, and we're distracted. We're not one point. And Gurudev's big thing was just be one pointed, you know, just be one pointed. Radha Krishna Yugal Kishore, you know. Yeah, so, and that gave hope to everybody. We're not qualified, but still we want. So a lot of people are saying, oh, we're not qualified for Raganu, and it's like, it's not, you don't understand, you know. And Gurudev was showing, this is Prabhupada's words, I'm not making this stuff up, you know, this is in Prabhupada's books. And he said, I think you haven't read these, they haven't read these books. I think, you know, perhaps they haven't read And then everyone's like, yes, Gurudev. You know, everyone's proud because we're with Gurudev. They haven't read Gurudev. You have read it. You have the key, Gurudev. So we were like, everyone was like in ecstasy because they come into contact with this pure Vaishnav who had the key. Not only had the key, you know, he was also tasting. You know, many times, especially in Badger and New Braj, you know, Gurudev would manifest ecstatic symptoms. You know, so. It was indisputable, Gurudev's position, but people wanted to minimize. You know, because people, and this other thing was like, you know, who's Guru, and because also it's actually in the fifth. What is it? Well, has the fifth sloka of Upadeshamrita? Krishna Nama Charitartha. No. Krishneti isi garitam manasadriyeta, this verse. Dikshasti chit pranati bis chapananta bisha. Sushushuyapanam bignavananya anyam nindati sunyam vidim ipsita sangalabhya. This verse, very also really powerful verse that what is the different levels of devotee. The Kinishta. So Krishneti asagiritam manasadriyeta. Krishna says, if someone has once chanted the name of Krishna, he's like your brother. He's a family member now. So you should manasadriyeta. In your mind, you should show respect. So, but like with Prabhuji, so this, anyway, we'll further on that, but Prabhuji, he was like, one time in Mathura, he was like, he explained this verse in such a different way. Like, he just said, you think Rupa Goswami has anything to do with Vaidhi Bhakti? Do you think, Because generally Sanatana Goswami was more focused on, say, on the Vaidhi aspects and the Sadachar, and Rupa Goswami was more, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and all of Ujjwala Nilamani. I mean, he's Rasik. He's the Rasik Acharya, But he's writing this Vaidhi, and probably he's like, you think he's talking about Vaidhi Bhakti? And we've heard, like Gurudev would say, the first 7 slokas are about Vaidhi Bhakti, controlling the sense, Vacha Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam. And he said, one who was once chanted the name of Krishna, don't respect that person. Either because we're following Srimati Radhika. If someone has chanted the name of Krishna, only respect them in your mind. Don't respect. Here's there he's twisted it upside down. So the general understanding is Krishna. If one has once chanted the name of Krishna, he's your brother, he's your family member. And then next thing you know, you got Prabhuji saying, if he's chanted the name of Krishna, we are Radha's camp. Don't respect. Not external. Okay, in your mind you can show respect, but don't externally show. So this is the Rasik, understanding though who these people are. That they can change everything back to front. If they want, how they want to explain on any given day. Sometimes like with Prabhuji, he would mock the sannyas ashram. He would just mock it, and because Guru, after some time, Gurudev made the sannyasis, and it was it's great. Gurudev had to set up this legacy, but like Prabhuji was so had such a grasp. He'd say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never took sannyas. He any sannyas name Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, what sannyas name? Did he take sannyas? He never took sannyas. Mahaprabhu was never, and then the next 2 weeks later, without taking sannyas, you cannot enter into the kunj. So and then if you actually saw Prabhuji and Gurudev together, we were lucky, in Vrindavan, and to get to have some quality time with Gurudev and Prabhuji, and how they would ras with each other, because our general mood, especially Diksha disciple, has to be a little reverential. Is natural for the Diksha, for the disciple to have a healthy reverence towards the Guru, because he's like father, and with Shiksha disciple, the Shiksha relationship is more intimate. It's more like the uncle. So Gurudev would give the example as if the disciple goes to the Guru, Diksha Guru, and says, "Oh, Gurudev, I want to get married. I feel lusty. Then he said, "What will Gurudev say? Well, get his danda, and he'll smash his disciple over the back. You want to marry? What?" He said, but then he said, "What will Shiksha Guru do?" He said, "Shiksha Guru, oh my dear son, or my nephew, try and tolerate, He said the Diksha Guru would just like, so and then like that. So with you would see Prabhuji, who was like a Shiksha disciple of Gurudev. Their relationship was just very intimate. There's less, and we had one ISKCON friend. He kind of came to Gurudev a little bit for a while, but I think it was in '96, in Kartik. And he was a disciple of one ISKCON Guru that was in good standing. This term was at that time. When the Guru hadn't fallen down yet or hadn't been caught. Hadn't been caught yet. No, I know that's offensive. No, but Gurudev. The thing is, that this is the thing. Is like it's such a. what is the real situation? Because someone said they're falling down, Gurudev. He said, no. He said, they are not fallen. He said, they're not up to fall. Yeah, that's how powerful it is. Because Gurudev was the real deal. He could say whatever he wanted, And who is the realized, how can you fall down if you're not realized?
Wow.
So he said, they're not up to fall down. That's like savage. That's pretty... That's a Randy Savage moment right there. Cream of the crop. So, so they, so Gurudev didn't, he was in that position where, like if we say stuff, we have to be careful. Oh, maybe I made an offense, or you have to be careful. But the sad Guru, he's laying it down, and many times Gurudev would just unleash, he might just manifest a little bar of what he really felt, because generally the Vaishnava is humble and they want, but they're also, they have a human aspect, where they might be upset. We were in France one time, and one devotee had said, Gurudev, they're saying this about, and this devotee started repeating some of the aparad that some of these characters were saying, and the devotees were like, don't say it, don't repeat it, And then Gurudev was that day he was a little bit hurt. I don't want to repeat on camera what he said, but they have a heart, they have emotions, So depending on the mood, also with Srila Sridhar Maharaj, there's a famous history with Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, who you may or might know, most people devotees know here. Just to give you an example of the humility of a Vaishnava, where wherever they're asserting or they're taking a humble position, that's their prerogative. But some of the one institution there, they were scared because some Western devotees were going to Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj for initiation and for association, and in their temple there, they were like, oh, they're stealing our disciples. Seems to be a big thing these days. People cashing in and getting other people's disciples. It's big business, I guess. So they went to Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, and they said, and he was, he's disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, globally or universally described as the incarnation of humility. Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, incredible Vaishnava, Gurudev's Shiksha Guru, and so they said, hey, don't, you shouldn't initiate our devotees, and and then it got back to and then to their people they were saying, oh, Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, he's a Kanishta Adhikari, he's like low level, he's a Prakat Bhakta, he's on the lower levels, or the materialistic level. Prakat Bhakta means materialistic. They see everything in, how we kind of generally see things. Just who's this, who's that guy? I'm the number one guy. This guy's no good. So there's many qualifications of it to define a Kanishta Adhikari. So then it got back, and the disciples, the servants of Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj said, Gurudev, Guru Maharaj, they're saying that you're a Kanishta Adhikari. And Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami said, oh, I've made some advancement. I've become Kanishta. Oh, today is a great day, So this is how is the heart of a Vaishnava? They're not thinking, the Kanishta Adhikari is thinking he's an Uttam Mahabhagavat, and the Uttam Mahabhagavat is thinking he's less than Kanishta. So everything's upside down. So, Gurudev was is wherever he is now in his leelas in different parts of the universe, whichever universe that might be, and his eternal service is going on, and but he came in that same line, in that Dara of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. He was given the same thing, but he was alive. They use the term live wire. Actually he's got the current. Generally that examples given of the powerhouse, and that if you're connected to the powerhouse, then this electricity is there, this charge. So Gurudev was carrying that, and he wasn't different from Srila Prabhupada, and he was showing everything that he was showing the things that and Gurudev said if Swami Maharaj was present today, he'd still be producing books, he would have finished his 10th canto, Bhagavatam. He would have done Ramayana. Gurudev said he would have done the Ramayana. He would have just kept, because the Vaishnavas, they don't stop. For us, we do a bit of seva, and then it's back, back on the smartphone. Let's get some, try and get some likes on our posts. Don't get how many likes did I get today? Get some selfies, and we're intoxicated with ourselves. But the Vaishnavas, their seva is just continuous, it's eternal, and their mission, I'd like Prabhupada, they use this example when the dogs will bark, but the caravan rolls on, and you see that in India especially, for if you've, most of us have been, but you experience, you go through a certain area and the dogs, and the rickshaw just kind of keeps on going, and then the next one, you come into that zone, and everyone's just like barking dogs, and such was the case. You go near a certain temple, and actually Gurudev in Australia, like Gurudev went there for the we were with him in 97 and 98, and it was a very tense time, because basically the oppositions, shall we say, they were trying to do anti preaching, they were trying to, and Gurudev said they were saying, don't go to Narayan Maharaj, don't hear from Narayan Maharaj. He said, what will be the result? Oh, everyone will come. He said, they're giving me free advertising, saying don't go, and then because it's like, don't read the 10th canto, don't hear about Ras Leela, don't hear these things, don't go to Keshigat, so Gurudev, see, this is the thing, because if you're not in the position of a Rasikacharya, you'll see, don't hear the pastimes of the gopis, okay, don't hear about Ras Leela, and you'll feel like, oh, we shouldn't, okay, we accept. Like sometimes we think like that, especially for disciples. Sometimes they try and second guess Guru. We have one guy, the Gurudev would say, oh, go back, now you go home, go back to your homes, you finish Kartik, go home. And we had one devotee in 96, he was saying, now Gurudev's saying go, but really he means stay. And we shouldn't we have to stay in Vrindavan. And, but Gurudev really meant go home, And, and even,
Gopinath, he stayed in Vrindavan,
right. So this one guy, he wanted to go, and Gurudev even came to us. Gurudev was like, we just happened to be standing there. We were English, and this was an English devotee. And Gurudev said, please tell him to go. And the temples are just loading up the chili and the sabji, so the Westerns are like, oh, I better go, because they want to stay, but, because they understand we got to stay in Vrindavan, but at the same time, so how do you really understand wherever you stay or you go? And I always forget, one time in Govardhan, Gurudev was saying, so now Kartik is finished, and he would say, and it's been tough, it's been hard for you all, but don't say the bad things about it. Just tell them the good things and come again, And he said, and now you've all heard Harikatha for, a month straight, so now you won't want to go back to the West, you'll want to stay in Vrindavan. He said, but I'm praying to Krishna that he will cover you over now. You will become covered and you will go. I think Gurudev was kind of laughing to himself. I'm praying you're covered over, You all came with a return ticket. And this was back to Siddhanta's Sarada Thakur. Don't come to Guru with a return ticket, But how to understand the Vaishnavas, when to go, what to do, is not such an easy thing. Therefore you need the near and dear associates of Gurudev who are going to help us understand You know, so even in, like with ISKCON, you knew that there was a disciple, a guru, and he would have a senior disciple, and then the people that were followed that, surrendered to that guru, there would be like a hierarchy of previous disciples. So we kind of knew that coming to Gurudev, there would be some hierarchy. And I always remember thinking, like, who's, you know, and actually it was Vrindavan Vilasini. We were in Bath in England in 1996, and you know, she saw, you know, so I was there, and we're going to get initiated. You know, it was a small section of the tour, because Gurudev came to London, went to Bhaktivedanta Manor, and that was that's another thing. And then he came to Bath, which is like a small city, and he went down to Glastonbury. I don't know who knows Glastonbury here, but it's like Stonehenge, right, where the Stonehenge is. And the Glastonbury Festival, it's like an ancient. You got one of the oldest temples on the earth. You know, this ancient monolithic temple is in Glastonbury, basically, and all the people there, like hippies, and it's kind of a special place, you know. And they took Gurudev there, and Gurudev gave a, Gurudev was like this wizard had come into town, you know. yeah. I mean. I know we're laughing, but it was literally like, who is this? You know, it's like, I mean, Lord of the Rings wasn't out by then, you know, but we shall not pass. But he was, but Gurudev, like he actually had this hoodie. He was wearing a hoodie, and he had it. Those days he used to carry his danda, and there's pictures actually of him walking into the assembly halls in Glastonbury, and it was just like, this was like a wizard. Has come into Glastonbury, the real deal, you know, not some of the. I know I don't want to criticize, you know, like, you know, pagans or, you know, but they don't. Where's their parampara? You know, they all read in pagan books and draw in pentagrams and stuff and get a goat's skull and, you know, whatever they're doing, which is great. You know, burn some incense. You know, respect the elements. Fire. Here's water. You know, and they go for these rituals. Which is all well and good, but where's the Sutta Bhakta, you know? Where's your connection with the authentic line, you know? So when Gurudev came to Glastonbury, it was like, wow, this is the real deal. And it was literally like, I remember being there, I was freaking out. You know, I was like, this is the real wizard is here in Glastonbury. But then in Bath, and Vrindavan Vilasini was there, and she said, oh, now you have mantra. He said, now you have Harinam. He said, now you get yourself a 5-year visa and you go and stay with Premananda Prabhu in Keshavji Gaudiya Math, you know. And we were like, so I was like, oh, so we're starting to hear the glories of Prabhuji. Like, we only just found out about Gurudev. And we didn't even know Gurudev was, I didn't know Gurudev was, Diksha Guru was Param Gurudev. I thought he was a disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta.
Me too.
Yeah. I don't know, I see this Bhakti and Keshav. Well, who's this guy? What's going on? I don't know. What's his name? You know, who am I? What, you know, what line am I in? We didn't know anything, you know. So we're kind of learning about, you know, and then these books, the first books were I forget now.
Going Beyond Vaikuntha.
Going Beyond Vaikuntha, Nectar of Govinda Leela, Bhakti Rasayan, Prema Rasa, was it Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur? Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu, that was there also. Shikshamrita. You know, so all of a sudden, Prem Vilas was like passing out his sets of books, you know. Well, I got the books, you know, and then there was you know, and you'd open the book up and there's a picture of Param Gurudev and it was scaring you. Like, who's this? What have I done? What line have I, what have I just done? You know. What line am I in? And you're trying to put it all together, you know. But then we hear, that's when we first heard about Prabhuji, you know, from Vrindavan Vilasini. Like, she was living in Keshavji Gaudiya Math. So she's a very sweet devotee. And so we got to hear about Prabhuji, and then we come to India, and then, you know, there's another wizard. But he's hiding, you know, that's the thing. The Vaishnava, you can see Guru, and Guru manifests his Acharya Leela, and he's showing some opulence. And he's making disciples, you know. So he's kind of, I don't want to make stupid examples, but you know, he's 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 basically what we call manifesting his Acharya Leela. Because before that, Gurudev was just in Mathura. He was doing house programs. He hadn't started his world preaching. He was helping the ISKCON devotees. And the ISKCON devotees wanted to bring him in to ISKCON and introduce him. They understood his position. Some of the books were like Rag Vartma Chandrika, they were coming from the conversations that the ISKCON gurus had to ask Gurudev on Raganuga Bhakti and what the goal and essence of Bhakti. So Gurudev would answer all those things, and it was recorded and it became books. So at that time they also wanted, there was a movement, let's bring Gurudev into ISKCON, let's bring him in. But then the powers that be would just slam that door shut, and people were banned, right? So our GBC in England was he was banned because he was following. So that devotee that we were saying, anyway, he about Shiksha and Diksha disciples, he was a disciple of Shivaram Maharaj. And Shivaram Maharaj liked Gurudev a lot. And so Gurudev asked him some questions, and he said, because he wanted to be initiated, he said, "Oh, I will not initiate you. You are, I like your guru, I like your guru. He's in good standing, He said, so I will give you Shiksha. I will just give you instruction, and this is higher, Gurudev would say, this is higher than, just the Diksha Guru,
Wow.
And this is how, because people in the old days it was kind of easy. You kind of take shelter of the pure devotee and you surrender. And then now we got, a Sutta Bhakta telling other people, not initiating, and telling his juniors to become guru, and he's sitting on the side. I don't, not hoping it all goes well, but it's like it's a different paradigm. It's not Prabhuji taking the role of guru. He's like Shiksha. He doesn't want to put himself in the direct position, but it's all in line with this zigzag line of truth. The Shiksha Guru and the Diksha Guru. And before Gurudev, we didn't know our line was. Did you know about Bhagavat Parampara before Gurudev? Like also there's Patranchik Parampara and like family Parampara and Bhagavat Parampara. There's a line of what's this? A line of Mahabhagavats? It'd be a year before we even figured out what that was all about. And so the Diksha line can go on, but our secret thing is the Shiksha. So Gurudev told that Prabhu, he said, it's higher, it's more intimate, So Gurudev was 2 in 1. He was Prabhuji would say, our Gurudev is two in 1. He's Diksha Guru, he's also Shiksha Guru. He said he's like Mahaprabhu, two in, Radha and Krishna combined.
Wow.
He says it's very rare to get 2 in 1, This is not so common. We took it for granted. We took took Diksha, and we took the Shiksha, and Gurudev did all those functions. But then we came to know about the prominence of the Shiksha line over Diksha. So all of these things Gurudev was revealing, and it's very nice that now Prabhuji's get these books out. Prabhuji wants Gurudev's legacy completely in 2D. Get it in print, get it there in prosperity. Prabhuji didn't even want the books sold. Just give them away. And Gurudev would say the real price is that you read the books. And one of Prabhupada's complaints to his disciples is they didn't read his books sometimes. So it's a great service to have all the books and receipt. And then the Maharaj won't like to take the credit, but who's doing that service? This is very. Whoever's I started on some of the 96 stuff, because we were, what was that quote Gurudev? Gurudev was getting a little political in England in 96. One devotee had come from India and said, Gurudev, the BJP, no, he said there was a storm. He said, just came from Bandhav, Gurudev. he said, there was a big storm. You know, sometimes you get these dust storms and the hailstorms in you know, it's kind of scary. Get these big dust storms, and then you get these hailstorms. So there'd been this big storm, and he was telling Gurudev, the devotee's name wasn't there, but in the thing we didn't know who it was. And then Gurudev said, yes. He said also there's another storm is coming. He said the BJP party. You know, because they're Hindu nationalists, right? So in the politics in India, because at that time there was some politics, you know, everyone's getting a little political, and people saying Gurudev's not, you know, the Vaishnavas aren't political, but they're right there, which transcribing the lectures and some of the tapes from '96, and Gurudev saying the BJP parties, they're also a storm. He said if they come into power, it will be very good for Bhakti, you know. So, yeah. So it's nice that, you know, all this is recorded, because we don't want it to be lost, you know. But somehow or other we have to get it into our hearts, you know, and that's why, you know, one probably said, oh, we should go to Badger, and because he said, I want Gurudev's, because there was a time, you know, sometimes Gurudev wasn't even on the flyer for the advertisement, you know, for the Badger festival. It's like, you can't imagine that day would come when Gurudev's picture is Gurudev's not advertised. You know, Gurudev probably does not want that lost. He doesn't want Gurudev's, you know, like we stay with Prabhuji and we stay in Vrindavan, and we, you know, so for us it's still alive and kicking, you know, but then you turn around, next thing you know, you look behind you and it's like everything's falling apart and getting forgotten, you know, and so, you know, it's great that this is being preserved, and the disciples of Gurudev, Prabhuji's making sure that, you know, Gurudev's line is continuing, and so it is continuing. He's continuing with him. You know, he's almost like, you know, they minimize any other disciple of Gurudev because they're all, you know, incredible people and they serve Gurudev. You know, but we're with Prabhuji. You know, and he was the person nourishing us. He'd give you medicine when you were sick. He'd nurse you when you get, you know, to get back there. He'd explain how to come close to Guru, you know. And in those days, people were saying, go to him, go to him. And then you go to Mathura, and Keshavji go to Mat, and then, you know, I remember one devotee saying, you know, they were saying, who's this, you know, he was also heard about Prabhuji, and he was coming from Australia. And they were saying, where's Premananda Prabhu? Where's Premananda? He said, that's this guy over there, and this Prabhu over there. He's serving, Prabhuji's just serving prasada in buckets, you know, just, he's like a hidden brahmachari, just doing ABC seva, serving out prasad. And that devotee said, that was very impressive, you know, but just some kind of menial guy, you know. That was his experience. Mine was a bit different because, you know, somehow or other, you know, Prabhuji straight away started. We were like 2 weeks early for Kartik. We came a bit early, and Prabhuji was starting to give classes, and, you know, and he would, those days, that was the first classes of Prabhuji. There'd be like 3 people in the class, you know, 5 people in the class, you know, and, you know, Prabhuji started to glorify Gurudev and explain everything, and help us understand who's Gurudev and how to approach the Vaishnavas. And so without Prabhuji, you know, without the senior Vaishnavas, how can you understand Guru? You know, Gurudev, Prabhuji would say, how can you understand, you know, nearby is not necessarily dear by. You know this one. Yeah, you can be near to Guru, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're dear to Guru. And he would give the example of someone can be on the top of a mountain. He's closer to the sun, but there's ice on the top of the mountain. But someone's down in the valley and they're getting the full benefit of the sun, and they're further away. You know, so things are not what they seem. So how you come close to Guru, and Prabhuji explained all these things, so we're eternally indebted to Premananda, Puja by Premananda Prabhu. And how he's masterminding everything is, you know, is beyond our kind of comprehension. So therefore, you know, that's why we respect some of our God brothers, because they managed to get close to that, you know, physically close, and at the same time intimately in seva, You know, they managed to somehow or other penetrate the. Was that in the Mahabharata? You know, was it Arjuna tries to get into the? I can get in, but I can't get out. You know, so, yeah, Chaturvyuha. This formation in the is you could get in, but you can't get out. It's a bit like that with Prabhuji and Sri Guru. Once you get in, you really can't get out. You got to really mess up to kind of get, you know, they don't let you go. And Gurudev said, you know, disciple may leave Guru, but the Guru never leaves the disciple. So, by the, you know, the example of Gurudev's love and his near and dear disciples who, you know, embody that compassion and that acceptance and the blood they give, you know, the endless energy they just keep giving, that stops the devotees from kind of wanting to go anywhere. People don't want to go anywhere else. They want to be there because the love is there, the energy is there, the help is there. It's a continuous sacrifice, you know, that the devotees could do just be doing their bhajan, but they're cooking, they're cleaning, they're assisting, they're giving classes, they're giving instruction, you know, continuously. So, you know, things we've learned of Gurudev, we've learned from his near and dear disciples. And so I'll finish there. It's been nice to hear Gurudev's, remember Gurudev's glories, and nice to be with Gopinadini Didi, very dear to Gurudev, dear to Prabhupada. They actually show the light also. Like Vrindavan Vilasini, go here, go there. They're pushing us, you know, pushing us in the right direction. Bhajakopa Jivas Chaka Visnu Javadina Bhavan.